Welcome to My Two Cents with Nikki Batgirl D'Angelo, a Star Citizen Addicts Anonymous production. In today's video, hear my thoughts on the new Xeno Threat event. Welcome back to another My Two Cents video with Nikki Batgirl D'Angelo. Today, I'm going to find a way to talk about what's on my mind and get to the event that's going on, which of course is the Xeno Threat event. And I've had a rip-roaring time playing it. I love it. I think it's passable. And I'm going to explain that in just a little bit. And first thing I want to talk about is ship diversity, because it's very important when talking about the Xeno Threat event. And the first opportunity I had to really think about this is when I walked up to my console over here to select my ship and tried to decide which ship I was going to take out for this event. And we have such a diverse scale of ships that we could bring out. But when you're playing alone, you're really pigeonholed in just a couple. And that's because a lot of the ships right now that really make sense in the Xeno Threat event, like the Retaliator, they take a number of people that you should get together beforehand. The ships that you would take out by yourself, the Vanguard, I'm just saying, is absolutely the best ship for this event, especially if it's the Harbinger, because those 3 size 5 torpedoes are definitely going to help scare off that Idris. But I've been thinking about how hard CIG's been working at getting us ships out, and how some of the ships that they work so hard to get us have really no real purpose in the game outside of looking beautiful, right? That's about it. They look gorgeous, beautiful, wonderful. They're tremendously nice to fly around in, but you get inside your Mercury Star Runner and there's no data to hack into and steal and run. You can't go between multiple star systems to try to go on whatever reconnaissance mission you're on. You can't get in your Carrack and go out and explore. You can't get in your reclaimer and start salvaging. So it's like we have all these great ships. The Starfarer, which is not one of the great ships. It was one of the first really big ships, but it really has fallen behind. But still, there's a gas and fuel transport that really has no purpose. And then I look at all the ships in the game that do have purpose. And one of the big ships right now would be like the Hawk, because bounty hunting is becoming bigger and bigger. And you could look at ships like any of the fighters, because, there's so many bounty hunter missions that you could just go out and kill people, that having any one of the combat ships is really good. But when it comes down to it, although trading is very lucrative, mining seems to be the one that's the most fleshed out. So you're going to see a lot of moles, and you're going to see a lot of prospectors and a lot of rocks in the game that are being carried in the back of people's Mercury Star Runners and other larger ships that could carry them. So when they throw out an event like this, a lot of people might just have very much smaller vessels with which to partake in it. And that, I think, is cool, but when you're sending an Idris in, which just has a couple of fighters and maybe a Connie or a couple of Valkyries that show up with it, having an Arrow, an Aurora, or something like that is kind of like throwing spitballs at a tank at times, because the Xeno Threat event really is a huge deal, and they've really made it feel like you're fighting a formidable force. So I look in my hangar, and I'm looking through all the different ships, and I'm going, okay, there's my first real super combat ship, and that was, of course, the F-7CM.
Well, when the Polaris
I don't have somebody to fly in the back and cover me with the turret, so it's okay. I could probably use that. But really, it's a light attack and combat air patrol. It would be a ship that would be more suited towards that. So you look at the Saber and you get into the same deal with that, because it really carries missiles. You could harass things. If we could target turrets, maybe we could take out a turret or two on the Idris if the Idris wasn't so freaking dead on balls accurate with their anti-aircraft fire at this point. But in the grand scheme of things, it comes down to just a few ships in this event. And it might be people in the Retaliator. It might be people in... Hey, maybe the Hammerhead would make sense if there was a large force of fighters that preceded the Idris by about 5 minutes, and then the Idris would show up. I mean, that would have made a better event. Because they just throw the Idris in, which the Idris is more of a capital ship, and it's not that hit and fade attack. It's something that comes in and takes an area. So for that to happen, I would expect a whole bunch of Gladiuses and Cutlasses and other kind of spacecraft to jump into the fray and try to clear out the fighters and people like us that are trying to be there to stop the event. I don't know why CIG didn't do this. I mean, Chris knows how to make a game. And that makes sense to me because that's exactly how real life works. Fighters jump in, clear the path, take out anti-aircraft, engage the other fighters, whatever it is. And you then expand the event a little bit more. So what am I getting at? Okay, I'm going to get there in a couple of seconds. So I've taken part in four of these Idris interdictions. I'm going to call it an interdiction, where the Idris just jumps in. It has the 2 or 3 Gladiuses in there, and sometimes there's a Connie, sometimes there wasn't a Connie, or sometimes maybe the Connie jumped in and somebody knew where it was going to jump and destroyed it almost immediately. But after you take out all the ships, it's kind of like maybe another ship jumps in every now and then, but it's just standing off and watching all the people and their Retaliators and their Gladiators and their... Well, the Gladiator, I don't know if that's really a good thing to say. I have one. I don't know the last time I flew it, though I do love it. The Eclipse, right? Because those big-ass torpedoes. And in the future, I'm sure it's going to be ships like the Polaris that jump into an event like that. Because with their cap ship killer torpedoes, I'm sure that Idris wouldn't stand a chance when everybody that owns a Polaris gets in the game to take on this event. So although I feel like this is one of the best things that's been added to the game in a long time, it does have its faults. So this was Saturday morning. I took a couple of hours before I started working to get in and play, and there were quite a number of people on, most of them from the European area, which is pretty good because most of my American brethren and sisters would have been sleeping at the time that I was playing. And I didn't get the mission right off the bat, so I did a claim jumper mission and was rather impressed with how good the Vanguard is. I've never really flown the Vanguard, especially the Harbinger. I only fly it during free flights when they put it up there for free or when it's the free ship for the concierge and subscribers for the month. So I've never had one. I've never really used one. And I really just looked at it as a big ship that they really missed the mark on, because if they were trying to make it like a real medium fighter, which would have been like a Black Widow in World War II, it would have been a little bit different. But I take all that back after flying it for 2.5 hours yesterday morning and finding that it really is one of the best solo ships. And I say solo, you could bring somebody with you and there's no real anything for them to do except for man the turret. And really, you don't need anyone in the turret because the shields on this thing are phenomenal. So the event goes a little bit like this. You jump in after getting a message from the UEE Navy liaison officer. You go to Jericho Station, and she tells you to go over to a crashed ship or a derelict ship or a ship that's been blown out of the sky. I think it's I think it might have been a Starfarer or something like that. And you have to help collect all of the different resources over there to bring it back to Jericho Station so you can get the Javelin back online so it could then defend Jericho Station. Oh, I go out there. There's not really that many people out there. Some people are jumping around outside trying to get their, I guess they're salvaging the items off of the derelict ship. And then they fly it back to Jericho Station, and then the ticker goes up with how the Javelin's coming back to health. At some point, if you're in that area where the ship wreckage is, the wrecked ship, they're going to throw in a couple of Valkyries, a couple of Gladiuses, and they're gonna keep throwing them in there a few at a time. Nothing really in mass that would scare you away. I guess CIG doesn't want to scare away the people that are playing and wants to have the event work for both few people and a lot of people. But still, it doesn't feel like they're doing anything more than harassing you. It doesn't feel like they're really trying to invade the area. It just feels like they're doing guerrilla attacks, which maybe that's what they are doing. So you get into your vanguards, which there were quite a few of them out here, and into your sabers, and you take out the fighters as other people are gathering the resources. At some point, you get a call to arms that the Xeno Threat Idris is on its way in. So you get in your ships, or you're already in your ship, because you weren't outside gathering resources. You were actually flying cap for them. Maybe that's what you were doing. So you get in your ships, and you jump back to Jericho Station, and you go to fight off the Idris. Well, when I played this the first 2 times on, I guess it was on Friday, there was more than enough time to get back there and take out a couple of ships and, have some fun doing it. But at this point, most of the people that were taking part of the event didn't come over to try to get the resources. What they did was pretty much form a circle around where where the Idris was always jumping in. And as soon as it jumped in, they fired all their torpedoes and overwhelmed the Idris, and it jumped away before most of us got back. I got back just in time to take out one of the Gladiuses, and it worked. Now, you're going to see from time to time this payment ticker going down. You'll see I'll get $2,500 for something and $1,500 for something and $22,500 for something. I don't know what I'm getting paid for, but I went from $285K to over $485K in just a few hours. It was amazing. So I am happy with the event. I do feel like the event needs to be tweaked. I think it needs to feel like a real invasion. And to do that, I think they need to have a swarm of fighters come in just before the Idris. And when you get 60% of the fighters destroyed, then jump the Idris in. So you still have to deal with the fighters before you can start attacking the Idris. I think that would make a bigger, better splash. It would make you feel like it was more immersive and it was a real invasion, but that's not what they're doing. And I think it's because they only just removed Delamar from the area. So this is something new to do, something big, and they're starting it out slow to see, all right, what's the buy-in from us, from the players? What's the hit to the performance? Can we add more ships at a time? And I think those are all the things that they have to deal with. And I think that's something that we have to wait for server meshing maybe to have those bigger battles. All in all, I sound a little salty and disappointed. Maybe I am. But I don't want to mislead you all. I really had a good time in the event, and I'm going to continue to do it. And I'm going to continue to do those claim jumper missions in this ship, which I'm sure I only own because I bought a Perseus. And this is probably what they gave me because I didn't have this before I got the Perseus. I'm exceedingly happy with the event, although I have my reservations about it. And that's because I know version 1s in CIG are always something that either breaks the game or comes in a little lackluster and then it gets developed over time, kind of like mining did. I mean, I won't say mining's the greatest thing since sliced bread unless you love mining. I love mining, so it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. But this is only the first of many events to come. And I believe this, if it's what we're going to experience over the next year or two as development continues, I feel like CIG is in a much better place. So I think all of you should go and take part in the event at least once. if you don't have a ship that you think you could actually excel at, don't worry about it. Just be there. You'll get paid for just participating. Take an Aurora and try to go out and mine. Take your Nomad, take your Mustang, whatever it is, and just go and be part of the event. It's something cool to see. We've been waiting for these capital ship battles for a very long while. And even though this is just part 1 of the Xeno Threat, part 2 will be when we actually get that Javelin up and running, so the Javelin and the Idris could fight it out. But even though this is part 1, the promise of things to come is actually pretty bright now. I'm very happy with the game again, and I think it's time for me to come back and not just do the video that I did yesterday and the video I'm doing today, but do as many as I can in the future. I think my voice needs to be heard in the community because I've always tried to have that voice of reason when it came to the game, and I'm still going to do that. Although I gush over it, I do point out its flaws in order to make them better, not to have my words twisted and turned into something that someone else could use about how Nikki doesn't like the game anymore. I do. Batgirl loves the game. So now just a little bit before we go. And so I haven't been playing the game, and I really have tried to get into my own brain as to what was going on, and I finally figured it out. A year ago, when Apple pulled us out of the stores and gave us another job to do, I was given a job I absolutely don't like. And it has nothing to do with anything else. It's just, I'm a shark. I always need to keep moving. I love interacting with our customers on a personal level, and I love the job that I was hired to do and that I've done for the better part of 17 years. Having that lack of control over my destiny at Apple for the last year, I kind of pulled in and became more introverted, and I started playing games that I had ultimate control on. And I realized that I wasn't playing Star Citizen because I've lost control in that game too. 30Ks and frequent crashes and other things going on were causing me a little bit disheartening when I was playing the game, and I really didn't want to experience them. So I was playing games like Satisfactory, like City Skylines, like any building game, Foundation, building games where I am the god in the game and I get to control what goes on. So I realized that this whole idea of me giving up control and my game playing became about me controlling things. That's really what happened. So I pushed myself and pried myself out of the other games and immersed myself into Star Citizen again. And I believe that my burn is back. And I believe that, like I said, I have something to give back to my viewers and back to the community. So I hope you like my videos. If you do, give me a thumbs up down below. If not, and you give me a thumbs down, just give me what you want me to do in the future. I could go back to doing news. I could go back to doing reviews or news reviews and interviews, if I could just get CIG to get on board with that again. But I want to bring the best content I can to you for the game. And if you do subscribe, please click that notification bell icon below so you get notified of all my future videos. And with that said, you all be safe out there, and I will talk to you soon.